Yo, bouncing with that
drop.
KCP in the middle. Bounce, Larry. Throw that baby down.
Oh, my goodness.
What? Howard? Are you kidding? With some anger.
Kyrie get out of that double team.
With the hip fake. What a move by Hakeem Olajuwon.
Levine, he goes right.
Oh! Does anybody know how to post videos?
Welcome back into the Drop Step Podcast. Back at it again. The season is over and the new season is about to get underway. Home team, B-Dog, Houston, and special guest, the College Football Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a Davey O'Brien Award winner. That's the award for the best college quarterback in football, and a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket through and through, Joe Hamilton. Gentlemen, how y'all doing today?
Yo, what up?
A lot to get to. I want to say shout out and thanks to the folks at Shack Food Radio as we continue to roll along episode 23 of the Drop Step Podcast, and a lot to get to, but not a lot to go through. I say that to say there are only three things going on right now. The awards that just went down, the draft that just went down, and free agency, which is about to go down, and a whole lot to get to. We'll get to all of that, plus what the Hawks should be thinking about, who they should be thinking about as they need to get some veterans to fill out their roster. First and foremost, the awards went down, and not many surprises. I would say, based on who got them, everybody was well-deserving, not a whole lot of controversy, and basically the proof was in the pudding, and the folks put in the work, walked out with the awards, I think, appropriately. Folks could differ in opinion, but nobody, I think, got cheated on award night for the NBA awards, which went on for 3 hours.
Yeah, I think there was no surprises with the awards or who got them. I think the only one, and I wasn't surprised or upset because I think he deserved it as well, but I think the only one where I think I had somebody else was Rudy Gobert got Defensive Player of the Year, which I'm not mad. He'll be there every year. I had Paul George winning that. And when it came to Most Improved, I had D'Angelo Russell. Not mad at Pascal Siakam. But at the same time, D'Angelo Russell is the catalyst of that team that got Brooklyn to the playoffs, and no one saw that coming.
Right. Yeah.
I agree. Well, I agree. I totally agree with the situation because how do a guy go from not being an all-star to an all-star and not be the most improved? If Siakam had done the same thing, went to an all-star game, maybe we can give it to him. Again, this was supposed to be an award that the ballots are in before the playoffs. And maybe next year I go back and I see the development of Siakam. I know he took a leap, but that type of leap, that's the only one I would question as well.
Yeah, no, I question it too because for me, it looks like they did judge him more off of playoff. Because if you want to include the playoffs and them going and win the finals and everything, and he being a key factor and all that, great. But yeah, when it comes to regular season, look at what D'Angelo Russell did. This is a guy who was basically shunned out of L.A. for things off the court, and nobody was really giving him the shot anymore. We were already basically down to him. He gets to Brooklyn and takes a franchise that we've been laughing at for years now and puts him back into the playoff picture. So to me, I thought that one should have gone to D'Angelo, but I'm not mad at Siakam getting it. But I also got a problem, and nobody's mentioned it. I got a problem with the Greek Freak winning.
No.
I'll go ahead and say it. Because I still feel like James Harden won that award. You can't tell me this man did it majority of the season without any of his key pieces. Everybody's going to be mentioned at some point in time. He put up that streak of 30-plus point games. The man was that team. And really, he was the talk of the NBA for the full season. There wasn't no letdown in his game until really he got to the playoffs. You could say the same thing for Giannis, but Giannis, to me, had a better team built around him as far as for the full. Look at what he did as far as getting into the playoffs and what his team was able to do with him, whereas still Harden, if it's not on him, it ain't nowhere. If it wasn't for him, that team isn't going anywhere.
But I can say the same thing with Giannis. If I take Giannis away from that basketball team, yes, you have Brook Lopez. Yes, you have what's my guy named Brogdon, who was hurt and came back. Yes, you have Chris Middleton. But those guys are not getting me over the hump. Those guys play well along with Giannis. Yes, Chris Middleton was an all-star. But if I take Giannis out of if Giannis was the one that was hurt and I took him away from that, remember this team was a 60-win team. I take him out of that fold. Where is that team?
It's the same thing if you did the same thing with Harden. So if you take Harden away from that team, where in the heck would the Rockets have been last year?
No, but I get that.
Let Chris Paul, let Capella, let all of them be healthy, and let it be James Harden who was out. You think that team is still doing anything of what they did this year?
I think those – no, but I think –
none of those guys are all-stars. Like you said, Capella can't get his own shot. Chris Paul is a shell of himself.
Well, I think the voting tells you where how the votes went down, tell you what people were thinking. Giannis Antetokounmpo got 78 first-place votes.
Rightfully so.
James Harden got 23. So it was a big gap between what the voters thought the criteria was and what the value of each guy was this year. There was a big gap between number one and number two as far as how close it was for first place voting.
I mean, there was a 60-win team.
No doubt about it. All right, Harp. And Houston, I would put this to you, and I like where you're going with it, but goodness, when you add to Giannis's stat sheet, what about the other side of the court? When you're looking at a guy that finished top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year as well,
Touché.
12 rebounds, the shots he affected, the ability to play one-on-one defense, the steals. When you add that to it, and I don't want to add that to it saying anything bad about James Harden, but this guy did it overall, and I would also say he made his team better. Could you really say that James Harden made his team better? Wait, I'm sorry, teammates better?
Okay.
Because even the eye test, the dribble, my turn, your turn, the lack of the great body language that we need when nobody's calling his number, being a decoy, coming off a screen. It's just more to it to me than just, step back in the stat sheet. And I'm not it's hard scoring 30 straight points for how many straight games? Very, very hard. And he's also very, very hard to watch.
At that point in time,
dribble, stop, step back, shot. Dribble, stop, hibbity hop.
At
flop.
that point in time, we were saying all this stuff about him, and you couldn't stop it, and he still did it. So at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We all know that it's not going to win you a championship, but we're talking about regular season awards.
And to Joe's point, though,
we're talking about regular season awards.
Did he make his teammates better? Because I think what the voters said is just because you score more points than everybody
he did
doesn't
what he
make you
had
the most
to do.
valuable.
Like we said back then, he did what he had to do for his team to win.
Yeah,
in
but when
the
those
regular
guys
season.
came back, he was still – the man shot 25 times a game. 25 times a game. Now, when you're going to get 92 possessions, 93 possessions, and one man, that doesn't count the shots that don't count because you get fouled and you did shoot, but they don't count against you. He's yanking 25 shots a game.
So how do you get around home team Houston's point? Houston's point is that he had to take him.
Well, when Capella was hurt and when Chris Paul, they weren't hurt all year.
But when they came back, where were their shots at? Their shots still ain't falling. And this is a Mike D'Antoni system, which Harden's going to play it. Why? Because he's the one who benefits from it, right? He's the one who's going to get all the accolades from playing in this Mike D'Antoni system. Everybody else, y'all got to step up in the moments when you do have it, and they didn't.
And you see, this is another point you got to think about, Houston fellas, when you go into what those voters thinking. Maybe somebody, I'm not guaranteed, but maybe somebody in there said that, man, you give 10 other people 25 shots a game. They're going to have 30 straight games of scoring. Not anybody, but the scores of the league.
Right.
Those guys were looking around and saying, God, 25 shots. If I could take 25 shots and
Chris Paul's probably saying that.
Nah.
And also, I think another thing you got to look at Giannis won this, and we're talking about he's winning this MVP, and he doesn't have a consistent shot. He doesn't have a consistent mid-range or three-point shot. He can get better, and we can see better. With James, I think he can continue to do what he's doing and be in the running, but I don't think he's getting any better. James Harden, the ceiling, he's basically at his ceiling right now. Giannis ain't at his ceiling yet. He can win 3 or 4 more MVPs because there are more aspects of his game that he needs to add that will probably make him even more dangerous.
Might be hating, too. Maybe people don't like the hibbity-hop step back.
Well, they got to take that out of it.
Maybe they're tired of, it's frustrating to watch, and maybe they held that against James Harden a little bit.
I think that's more so the point than anything else. We're going to hold a lot against James Harden because nobody likes his step back. We all know or feel like it's a travel. Nobody likes his flops and the way how he gets to the free throw line to get a third of his points. But, hey, like I say, it's chess, not checkers, and if you can't stop that mess, Why would I stop?
But eventually it's gonna stop itself.
Okay.
Because what's gonna happen is they're gonna shoot themselves out of a game like they have for the last few years.
Right.
And their defense is going to break down like it has. So eventually that type of style, Kobe said it himself. He said it's great to watch. D'Antoni, you're gonna win 50 games, but he's never gonna win a championship with that type of style of basketball. And he is absolutely right.
And it's also a vote. It's somebody's opinion. No disrespect. Rudy Gobert got a first place vote. Rudy Gobert. Okay, let's.
Yeah, that came from the West Coast.
Yeah, let's just probably somewhere near the Jazz facility.
I got a quick question I want to ask you guys, though. Did Giannis Antetokounmpo take this MVP award from James Harden? Because remember, James Harden is MVP.
Yeah.
And his season that he just put up is comparable to the season he won the MVP. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just the case that Giannis did some things that we couldn't deny him, offensively and defensively, leading his team to the best record, and that's something to be said about that. Because James Harden is not – his last 4 seasons, ever since he's got to Houston, it's been pretty much the same season. Regular season.
I would say that they're going to give more credence to what Giannis has done over this past season than what James has done because, it is fatigue. We've seen it before. We know what Harden can do, and he's already won one. Think about it. Shaq, as great as he was, how many MVPs does he have? We know what you can do, and we know that you're dominant. Okay, let's give somebody else some shine.
He may only have 1 MVP, but he got 3 finals MVP.
But still, at the end of the day,
which is bigger.
It's bigger because you're in the finals game, but we're talking about over an 82-game season. This is what people saw to be the best player of the league.
Yeah,
Forget the playoffs. And you mean to tell me that in all those seasons, Shaq wasn't the MVP? I get it. He gets finals MVP, but he definitely deserved at least one more regular season MVP.
Michael Jordan
I can say the same thing about Kobe.
Michael Jordan syndrome, too. So Michael Jordan could have ended up with 10. You gave it 1 year to Charles Barkley.
Right.
Same with LeBron.
Right.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Oh, no, he'll get it this year coming up, though, right?
Possibly.
Who will get it this year?
LeBron?
Possibly.
Yeah, that's a big old reach for a whole lot
I'm
of
reaching.
questions.
I'm reaching.
Yeah, I think.
Is it a reach?
We got to see. Yeah, I think it is. I mean, is LeBron going to the playoffs?
Let's see how they tool up. We'll see how they tool up.
Is LeBron going to be a number 1 seed, number 2 seed? Is LeBron's team going to be the best team in the Western Conference?
They have a chance.
Is LeBron getting out of the second round of the playoffs? We don't know those things. I think we can't let people ride off their rep, which is why I think it was good that Giannis won because, to Joe's point, James Harden, who I think does get a little bit of hate, he's kind of the same
Nobody
player.
likes a hog.
Well, yeah, it's kind of the same player.
But even going off their rep, the difference between LeBron and James Harden is we've seen LeBron's ability over the years to be able to be the key component on a championship team is different than I think James Harden is, and especially the way that they play. We've seen LeBron James actually make other people better.
Right.
I can't put James Harden necessarily in that same category that I can put LeBron James.
He doesn't.
So there's a difference there. So if I'm riding off a rep, I'd rather ride off LeBron's rep and his resume rather than James Harden because I've seen it multiple times.
He's built up good credit over the past 12,
and we know good credit
years.
is the best thing you can have out there.
Right.
I think all of the awards that went out, everybody's well-deserving. Coach Mike Budenholzer, his second Coach of the Year, had a spirited discussion with one of my buddies. He was like, you guys in Atlanta, what are y'all doing? You let the Coach of the Year, the 2-time Coach of the Year, walk out, and you traded the Rookie of the Year, Luka Doncic. What are y'all doing? I said, well, we're building for a championship run in the future. Congratulations to both of those guys, but I think the Hawks are in a better place. And I think Coach Mike Budenholzer was well-deserving. I think Luka Doncic was well-deserving. Both of those guys deserve to get the awards that they got.
I always put it like this. You see how they say, what are we doing because we let those guys go? But is anybody clowning Toronto right now for letting go of the Coach of the Year last year?
Nope.
Okay, so we could have kept Bud if he was willing to play ball with Schlink the way how he needed to.
Even though I think they could have won with Dwayne Casey. But anyway, I'm not taking anything away from Nick Nurse. I think they could have won with Dwayne Casey, though.
But that's really the point. It's all on how your team is constructed at the end of the day. They could have won with Casey.
The biggest factor,
they could have won
the biggest factor was Kawhi Leonard.
With the way how everything played out for this, if you put Dwayne Casey in that same seat, they still
he
come out.
He just won Coach of the Year.
Guys, I totally disagree.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll back it up. The reason why I disagree because in all those years with Dwayne Casey and dealing with LeBron, I never, ever, ever saw a lineup change up. I never, ever, ever saw some in-game adjustments to where he mixed and matched, ever. And Nick Nurse made a living out of that. Maybe you switch this up, putting Kawhi on Giannis in that series, making sure he sub guys the right way, calling timeouts, letting his guys play. Different style. Having Kyle Lowry sitting him down, I want you to play a different type role. I saw a different Kyle Lowry. Although he was in his feelings a little bit earlier about his best friend getting traded, I saw a different guy.
You know what
I gave Dwayne Casey, I'm giving him a lot of opportunities. I'm talking about he has a lot of film of not making adjustments.
You want to know what I saw to Kyle
Unless
Lowry?
you're saying that Kawhi Leonard makes it easier to make adjustants.
Well, I think
Well, I do agree with that.
There are three
I would say
guys
that
in
team
this.
just made it a lot easier for him to make those adjustments
There
this
are
year.
three guys
and
you can have
Kawhi
in
is
this,
that. Sorry, go
right?
ahead.
No, you're good. There are three guys you can have in this league, and you add them to your team along with whatever pieces you have, and they can turn your franchise around. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and we just saw Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
When you add a guy like that with the pieces that they've had, you know what else I saw from Kyle Lowry under Nick Nurse? Because we talk about the adjustment of Kyle Lowry. I also saw Kyle Lowry put up no points.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is that a Nick Nurse thing or is that a Kyle Lowry thing?
Well, Kyle Lowry thing, but also did you see Kyle Lowry fold his tent for a whole series?
No, I didn't.
But have you seen him do that before?
Yes, I have.
Under
But
Casey?
I think that's a Kyle Lowry adjustment.
I can feel you on that.
And that's also the pieces around that were able to pick up the pieces this year that weren't able to do it the years before. That is a difference between a Kawhi Leonard, having him, and having a Gasol down there as well. You've got different guys who are going to be able to step up that we weren't able to see last year or the years before. You were able to focus on Kyle Lowry. Why? Because he was definitely your number 2 option. This year, you didn't know which option he was. He didn't need to be number 2 option.
Are we trusting Masai?
Why not?
Because he's every day. He's in there every day. So now, in you guys' opinion, I don't know. I'm sitting from a standpoint just like you guys. Why did he make that move?
Well,
Too bold move.
Yeah, he saw something that wasn't good enough.
Right.
I think he
And
saw
remember, my bad, home team.
DeMar DeRozan wasn't good enough. It was good, but it wasn't good enough. And Kawhi Leonard, he felt would be good enough. He also, I guess, felt that his coach wasn't good enough. So he wanted to go in a different direction to find something he thought would be just a little bit better.
And I like the situation that he didn't go out to the West Coast. He didn't go out in college. He didn't go out for somebody he knew who was a buddy. This guy was within this same organization. Just elevated him from a seat. He was down there beside Dwayne Casey, a guy that knew the pulse of the team, a guy that probably sat down and said, I would tweak this or tweak that a little bit, so now it's your turn. You got us as far as you can get us, Dwayne Casey. We thank you, but I think we got to take another level. What kind of gamble is that on a rookie coach?
It's a big gamble, but like you said, we already knew that the pieces were basically there. The trump card was Kawhi Leonard. He was able to make that, and he could stand on that. And he knew that if it didn't work, okay, we'll see what happens the next year. He might not stick around, but we're going to probably get us one. He did that. So back to the original point that home team had brought up, they're saying, what are we doing down here in Atlanta? We're doing the exact same thing. We got a GM in place right now who knows how to put these pieces together and has done a very good job of it so far. So if Bud didn't want to play ball, which I think is what kind of happened, Bud didn't want to play ball his last year here. He didn't want to go through that tank like that. And since he didn't, what do? We got to get rid of him. We bring somebody who's going to play ball, and now look at us. We turned Luka into Trae Young and 2 top 10 picks. Well, that wouldn't have happened with Bud still holding on to the GM slot.
Yeah, I think Bud's coaching prowess and his GM prowess certainly in 2 different places. What about the awards? 3 hours. 3 hours to get to something that really can be done in 17 minutes. Right. Now, you have sponsors. You want to promote the league. You want to tell some jokes. You want to see some personality. I get it. Maybe an hour. But 3 hours to get through something that can be done in 17 minutes, I think it was a little bit long. I didn't have a problem with what Shaq was doing. I think he's always going to be a part of the NBA. Great personality, can host big events and live. That was live events like that. So the man is clearly talented. I would think, though, co-hosting, maybe make it in the future where you have either Shaq or an NBA player who has that kind of personality, and then somebody, as I always put out, who should always be hosting. Every generation has a person who should always be hosting, whether it was Billy Crystal or Eddie Murphy or Kevin Hart. Amanda Seales was there. She was a comedian. Have them kind of co-host with the NBA representative, I think would be a better move.
Yeah, I think pairing them with somebody like a movie star or somebody with that level of personality would be pretty dope.
Shaq was funny.
Yeah,
he was
entertaining.
It was kind of long, and so comedians know how to come up with the quick zingers, know how to tell some jokes that'll keep things kind of moving along. And a lot of that wasn't on Shaq. It was for 3 hours. That's a long time. That's longer than a basketball game.
And my thing is with the whole, they had Jay Farrell up there with the sounding like Shaq, had the whole crowd. It was cool, but I think that went on a little too long.
Filling time.
And it's cool when it's the perfect length. We know it's funny, but as you continue to just go and go and go, it's like, all right.
I kind of felt like Chuck was the co-host of the show. It's like we seen Chuck up there more than anybody else, even probably just as much as Shaq. He had his own segments. It was like that was kind of crazy to me. It was extremely long, and for the only musical selection to have would be Shaq's freestyle at the beginning. I thought that
and if you're gonna have Jabberwockies,
with the Jabberwockies, like you could have had a little bit more. We could have gotten anybody, Chance the Rapper or somebody up there to do a kid friendly song just to break up the monotony of just all these awards and all this time going by, and like I said, 3 hours, like not necessary.
What about the logistics of it? First of all, these are regular season awards. The votes are due 2 months ago. So the people that you are asking to show up, you're asking them to show up after the season is over. Only 2 teams went to the NBA Finals. You're asking potential recipients who are on their vacation and in their downtime to now fly West Coast to sit somewhere for 3 hours. Now a question is being brought up. Should they have the award? Should they just not do it the way they used to do it, which is whoever wins the award, the commissioner shows up in your city, they have a press conference, the teammates show up in that city, you put it on TV, and then you move on to the next award?
I wouldn't mind the awards, but I think that, especially with the time frame that they do them now, which is at the end of the season, at the end of the finals, make the awards a full regular season and playoff awards. I think at the end of the day, that's where we're going, because like I said, the awards were voted on 2 months ago. We don't care anymore. We have our own new perspective on who is the MVP now, who actually should probably have been Rookie of the Year now or Most Improved Player. That all changed
or during the playoffs.
But I just think that add the playoffs to it, make the awards still, they could be at the end of the season. Just add that to it so that way we can actually get a full concept of the full season, not just that part.
So, for example, Giannis was in the playoffs all the way through the Eastern Conference Finals. One of those games in Milwaukee, they couldn't present him with the MVP award.
They could, yeah.
That's the way they used to do it.
That's what they used to do it, yeah. So, yeah,
what's
they
wrong
could
with
go back to that?
Home crowd, big pop, great recognition in front of the world. You get to play that on ESPN, get a chance to see one of your stars illuminated, and then it's over.
And I know they have the ESPY Awards where they do it for all of the sports. I just kind of think the NBA, and I do agree with you all. I think for the NBA though, they want to have their own version. They see BET have their thing. They want everybody to get dressed up. They want the people to just show the style off on the red carpet. Right. They want to have their own little drawn. Everybody else got their drawn out there. Why can't we have our own?
So my question is, what are the numbers actually pulling in for this? Because
there you go.
If the numbers are coming in right, then fine. You keep on doing what you're doing. But really, to me, it doesn't seem like you've created enough of a draw. Like, it's not, I hate to put in social media terms, but it doesn't seem like it's trending enough for you to really want to put out this product every year. So it might be more beneficial just to have them do it back at the arenas how they used to.
And even if, like I said, I don't know what the numbers look like, but if you're going to continue to have these award shows, add some more entertainers in it to make it more entertaining. Yep. Like Shaq is great.
Right.
Shaq is an entertainer. But maybe if you would have added, like you said, a musical act, maybe a little concert, maybe a song, or maybe a presentation of some sort, if you're gonna have it be this long, make it a little more, add more entertainment to it. Why? Because sports and music have always gone together. Show that on your platform.
That's what they want to do, and it's a delicate balance, no doubt about it, because it is an award show, and people want to get on with that. But I think they should have took advantage of the opportunity. A lot of people don't want to hear this, but Drake. Well, isn't Toronto the champ?
Well, let him perform.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Perform, not being the host.
Yeah.
Just perform.
He's been the host before.
He's been the host before, but let him perform now. Perfect opportunity. He might have a song written about Toronto, or have him write it.
Right.
Hey, write a song about us being the champ. And another thing about that situation is that when you're dealing with Shaq is not a scripted guy. He can go off a script, but those guys on TNT, him, Kenny, and Ernie, and Charles, they don't read.
They're best when you let them go.
There you go.
Right.
So, but now in a 3-hour forum like that, you're going to have a teleprompter, have him read just for the time slots. And I'm not saying he's not comfortable, but he's not at his best doing that.
Right. And you're not getting the best him when you do that. When you're trying to put Shaq in a box, it's a very big box, but if you're trying to put him in a box, you're not getting the best Shaq you possibly can. I'm not saying that's what they did, because we saw him up on stage with the Jabberwockies. He's doing that's where he's at his best.
Yeah, but all right, a slight knock, and I love Shaq. Friend of the program. Love what you're doing, and appreciate y'all letting us on Shaq Fu Radio. But we've seen all that before from Shaq, so it's like I really feel like they just said, okay, let's just get cookie cutter Shaq, have him do a song because he loves to rap. Bring the Jabberwockies out. Remember that hit from the All-Star game 12,000 years ago? Have him doing the same stuff again. It's like, you could have did more. I feel like you could have brought out, think outside of the box a little bit more.
Bring in DJ Diesel.
Cliche.
That could have been. You could have brought in DJ Diesel to do a set or to do something on the ones and twos, because that's different from what a lot of people know him to do. So everybody knows him as an entertainer. Everybody knows him being all over TV and having these business deals and being an owner or whatever. But the crazy thing about it, a lot of people still don't know that he is a surefire, serious DJ.
Right.
Like DJ Diesel ain't this toy, this thing. Oh, I just do an off-season. No, this serious business. And on that type of stage, on that type of platform, you remind people, hey, I'm not only a Hall of Fame basketball player. I'm not only Superman. This DJ Diesel.
You can get DJ Diesel, a diesel truck, Vin Diesel, get him in there in an hour. An hour. 3 hours are way too long. They need to work on this. Switching gears a little bit, free agency about to kick off, and a whole lot of big names, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson. There are going to be some huge names. Kyrie Irving, Al Horford's opting out of his last year. So there are going to be some big names, significant players, and a lot of guys who can be impact players. Before we get there, on the way out, Andre Iguodala is out promoting a new book. He is saying some things that are not positive about his current organization. He talked about, maybe being misdiagnosed last year when they said he had a bone bruise and he ended up having a fracture. He talked about how the training staff in Golden State was superb and one of the best, but how, people can feel eyes looking at them if they're hurt and they're injured, and maybe they rushed Kevin Durant back. What are we to make of this when a veteran, a champion, a finals MVP is saying some things about a championship organization? Oh, he also went on to say that he thought the organization priced out the real fans as they leave Oakland and go to San Francisco with elevated ticket prices. So now he's going into the marketing side of things. Oh, boy, Andre Iguodala saying some stuff that certainly will get interest to his book.
Sounds like he want to retire. They
got to pay him one more year.
No, but it sounds like he don't even care about that last year. Like, this is the tell-all to be told, and I'm letting it go now. It seems a little premature because, dude, you got one more year on this contract. Don't you want to go and still have good graces with your teammates and with your organization for this last year? Because we know you're on your last leg as it is, but it just sounds like he's jumping the gun. And, we get it. They might have misdiagnosed you or just led the people to believe it was a little bit minor. It wasn't as serious as it was, and that seems to be the case with Kevin Durant. That is nothing new. There was a movie called Any Given Sunday that I'm sure all of us have seen it. That's what they do in pro sports from what I know. They try to get you back on the field. That's what team doctors do.
And a lot of times it's the players also pushing to get back on the court. They know it's a much more serious injury than what it actually is, but because you want to be out there with your teammates, it's sometimes doctors do try to keep you away. And they say, no, we need to – and players want to continue to push and go out there. Why? Because they know that their teammates need them. But this is one of those situations where, we saw this in San Antonio with Kawhi. People wanting Kawhi to come back, saying that he's healthy. Well, Kawhi didn't feel as though he was healthy enough. And that damaged the relationship between him, Pop, and the Spurs, which we've never seen before. We've always known the Spurs as being this buttoned-up organization where they always took care of their players.
Or maybe they just been good at keeping everything
Maybe.
under wraps the whole time, and he's the first person to say, you know what, nah, I'm going to give me another pick. I commend him for actually doing that now at this point. Because,
yeah, especially if he's a free agent. I mean, especially that he is not a free agent.
Right.
I mean, this is gutsy. It's almost like a disgruntled employee.
Should you be talking about that stuff? That's behind the scenes stuff, though.
It's behind the scenes, but I'll put you guys in remembrance of something. What Iggy is talking about is last year, right?
Correct.
When he was injured.
Correct.
Don't you guys know that entire staff is no longer there?
Correct.
The entire staff that's there now in Golden State is brand new. So maybe they mishandled his diagnosis, and got their throat cut for it.
Well, then they went out and let KD do what he did.
They did the same thing.
The new guy.
Come on now.
They let KD do what he did?
Well, I don't think we'll ever know the answer to that question until KD's retired and away from the game.
But I think that's Iguodala's point. That's Iguodala's point, though. Like, yeah, KD's going to try and get out.
People, though, that looked at him side-eyed.
But that's the reason why KD's back out there. Why? Because everybody's looking at it. And if you look at Iguodala's comments, it wasn't like it was just people up high in the organization. He's talking about teammates as well. So you're getting it from all angles. And we know from Little League, what do they tell you? Oh, it's either hurt or you're injured. You know what I'm saying? If you're hurt, you could play, right? They're always preaching that mentality to you about getting back on the field, getting back on the court. So when you in the NBA Finals, the biggest moment of your life, you know that what's going to be written is that you was too soft to come back out there for your people.
I think that's up for him. My opinion is Kevin Durant has to live his life. If he knew he was hurt and he was going to take a risk, I'm sure they informed him. He had a second opinion. They informed him of all the risks. I just hope he didn't come back because of everybody looking at him. What everybody was going to say, that he could have potentially, permanently impacted his ability to play at a high level because of what people might have said had he not played. That's what I hope is not. If he just wanted to play, they said, you might not get hurt, and he just rolled the dice. It happens. But if he went out there because he was worried about what people were going to say about him after this man has already proven he's an NBA champion, that raises questions to me about, where he is, because you should make decisions on what you need to do, not what other people who really don't like you anyway have to say.
And he didn't have to go out there to play to prove that. We saw that through these finals that this team needed him. So he didn't even have to really touch the floor for me to see that, for him to see that, yeah, this team, it's been validated already. Now, him wanting to get out on that floor, that's who he is as a basketball player. The man loves the game of basketball. Now, it probably came to him and said, look, like you said, you got a second opinion. You're good. And like I said earlier, if this was Klay Thompson, and Klay came back, now his injury was not as severe with the hamstring. But if this would have happened to Klay, if he would have came back and he would have re-aggravated that hamstring, we'd have been having that same conversation about him. But the only reason we're not is because he didn't get hurt again. And it just happens like that. KD just end up getting hurt again. And I think we're rolling with the narrative that, he shouldn't have been out there to play. Well, if he didn't get hurt, we wouldn't be having this. I think it's the chance, the dice that you roll, the chance that you take.
I'm sorry, it's the voices, man. Because KD, and we all saw it, he grabbed that Achilles that first go down. He didn't grab that calf. He had ice on that Achilles.
And they lying then.
Go back and look at that. I'm talking about the first one, not when he finally went down.
Right.
The first one, he was on that Achilles. I looked at it from jump and said it was Achilles. They talking about a calf strike. No. He shouldn't have been playing. And it got to be the voices. We act like, how many burner accounts is it for KD? How many times has he tried to go? He has to go back at the voices. He has to have something to say to the voices. Like, it's not like this isn't par for the course for him to want to try to prove something to everybody that he don't need to prove anything to. You're one of the best players in the league, dude.
Well, it's not about him being one of the best players in the league. It's about one of the best teams ever needing one of the best players in the league.
And like you
That's
said,
different.
It was proven, but still, the voices, the eyes that Iggy's talking about, all of that coming into play for a guy who had multiple burner accounts, he's probably going to do everything he can to get on that court. Because that's just how he's a defensive type of guy like that.
Yeah. Boy, it's hard. But I got two things on this one. I got two comments on this one. Number one is I want to ask KD, what percentage did you go out there? Because when you talk about athletes, there's something where we say we're going to give everything we got for the team and we're going to be out there for your teammates. But if you don't reach 90, you don't do it.
You know he wasn't 90, Joe.
Well, but it was a bad decision. It was a bad decision. No doubt about it. And when you make a bad decision like that and you have a chance or an opportunity to make a life-changing or a life-altering decision, you need somebody in your inner circle like Kawhi's uncle. And not to say Kawhi's uncle did not agree with San Antonio. Maybe Kawhi Leonard, just take this scenario. Maybe Kawhi Leonard said, and his uncle heard him, I think I'm going back out there. I'm cool. And then because the doctors cleared me in San Antonio, he go back home, they're chilling out, and his uncle only said, think about that, man.
Right.
Really think about that. Somebody just saying on a negative thought, who you trust. I'm not talking about somebody from the barbershop. I'm talking your inner circle that you know this guy is not, he doesn't want your money. He's not a tag-along. He's not one of those guys, but he's truly looking out for your best interest. All I think KD needed is somebody else saying, are you sure you're going out on that basketball court? And you're about to be a free agent?
I refuse to believe he didn't have anybody in his
saying
corner like
no,
that.
though. Not in his corner saying no.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, he overrode them?
I'm sure there was somebody from his mama or somebody who said, baby, we need to think about this a little bit more. There's somebody.
His mama said that the pressure got to him. She's one of the ladies, that went on Good Morning America and said it was all the noise, it was all the people.
They know it wasn't right. GM coming out during the middle of the NBA crying, talking about how they love him and we need him. And they knew they were wrong. They gambled, and it cost the man his injury. Hopefully it will not impact his game permanently. Hopefully he will be able to recover. Hopefully he'll be able to play at the same level he was playing at before the injury, and with the right amount of load maintenance and the right amount of rehab, he'll be fine. I just hope it just is not the case that this man might be a tick lesser because he tried to do something because people might have been talking about him. I hope that's not what the stories read and what the songs are sung.
You believe that he's going to be able to come back at the same level of KD as when he said, I'm Kevin Durant?
I think it's possible. If he sits out a year, if he gets the proper rehab, and he's with the best trainers and the best medical staff in the world, yeah, I think he can come back.
He's 30 years old right now, right?
So we'll see him at 31, maybe at his height again.
We'll probably see him at 32 because even Rudy Gay, who came back from the same injury, right? He said 1 year coming out of rehab. The second year is when you start to feel back to your normal self.
That's true.
So that's putting him at 32, which is already at that point where he might be hitting his decline in elevation.
You couldn't stop him with one Achilles. Even when he was hurt, you couldn't stop him.
And I think with his skill set as well, is I understand Rudy Gay, but Rudy Gay ain't Kevin Durant. Ain't never been Kevin Durant. Ain't never going to be Kevin Durant. So I know it's different for everybody. We said the same thing. Let me switch over to football for a minute. With your ACL, most players it take a year to come back. How long did it take Adrian Peterson to come back from his ACL?
True.
Because you know what? Adrian Peterson is a different type of monster.
Okay, a
than
different type
everybody
of
else.
freaking nature. And does Kevin Durant look like he's built like any of that?
No, but Kevin Durant as a player, as a superstar, and as just who he is as a basketball player, I think he's different from other guys. So I think he's going to work hard, and when he comes back, I still think he will still be some remnant of Kevin Durant.
I add to this, Houston, and I agree with you, Harp, is this the style of play. What's his game? His game is not, to me, an explosive game.
Right.
A Derrick Rose game where I'm leaping and I'm making violent moves.
He's too lanky for all that.
Yeah, and that link part, linky, is what I'm going to because he's a 7-footer. So he's going to automatically be able to shoot on top of you. So he doesn't need explosion off of his shot. So if he makes sure he hone in on the little thing, free throw line extended, he's going to be able to shoot on top of anybody, no matter Achilles or not. So where it might affect him is in the high 90s because of his size. He can even go down to not a low post game, but just a back against the basket game to where he turn around in your face, Michael Jordan style, and give you buckets. So I don't think he depend with. I know he's athletic, but I don't think his game depends on his athleticism. So I don't see it dropping off too much. A drop off, no doubt about it. That's the Achilles, but not too much to where we don't recognize Kevin Durant.
And then what is the change of his game if he is a little bit off? Fadeaways from the 7-footer. I mean, I think he'll be able to play a long time with his skill set.
Yeah,
I just think I just hope he gets better, and I just hope he didn't do it for the wrong reason. I hope he did it because he just thought he could be okay. He wanted to try to win a title, and he thought he could play. That's what I hope.
Quick question for you, Houston. Does that change money if you're the Brooklyn Nets? Does that change money if you the New York Knicks or any guy that wants his service?
It doesn't change money for the simple fact that somebody's going to pay him. So if I want a caliber player like him, I'm going to have to pay it.
And everybody would if they had the money.
Yeah, but I mean, if I had my
knowing
option,
you had to wait. That's what I'm saying. Knowing you got to wait a year.
Right. If I had my option, I wouldn't want to pay him that much because there is no telling what type of Kevin Durant you're getting coming back. And here's the thing. Yeah, physically he might be able to come up with being able to still shoot over everybody, but mentally, is he really going to get himself into that type of shape once he comes back from this injury?
If I'm the Knicks, I take that risk for the simple fact I've been in the hole for so long. I've been, even though I'm New York, I've been the laughingstock of the league for so long. Now, this is a double-edged sword because you could pay him all this money and there is a chance, because he is human, that he could not possibly be Kevin Durant. He may not be KD anymore. He may just be Kevin Durant. But if I'm the Knicks, certain teams I think have to, when you got a guy like this, you have to take that risk. It's about taking risks now. We saw
Right,
the GM did in
right.
Toronto. This is about taking risk. And if you're a New York team in a big market where you're getting scalded by the media each and every time, because we know RJ Barrett is going to go through that this year as an 18, 19-year-old. Not saying he deserves it, but it's where he's at. You got to take that risk because you have to get back to some level of prominence as the biggest media market and franchise in the league.
And there are a lot of risks that are going to be taken. Al Horford opting out. Reports are that he's very interested in going to Dallas, playing with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis and Rick Carlisle, Kyrie Irving. Apparently never liked his time in Boston. Guess he doesn't like Dunkin' Donuts. Guess he doesn't like clam chowder. I don't know what his issue is, but he's going to be somewhat of a gamble. And then Jimmy Butler. Now you're seeing that the Rockets might be going after him. This might be the last stand for the Rockets. They're going to have to just dynamite the whole thing if they go next year and they go out in the second round. So there are a lot of guys that have talent and can have the superstar and championship effect, but they still are risks if you look at, if it doesn't work out.
If I want to add more stupidity to Houston, sign Butler. Sign him to that max contract if you want to. I give it 2 seasons. Because now what's going to happen is you got the Chris Paul contract you still got to pay out. You're already paying James Harden. Now you're talking about giving Jimmy Butler, what's the max? Was it a 4-year deal that he can get if he went to another team and get the max? You're going to be shelling out a heck of a lot of money for something that is not going to lead to a championship.
I don't see how this is even a conversation because if I'm Philly, there's no way I'm taking this trade. Or there's no way I'm trying to take a deal with Houston. What is Houston going to give me as Philly that I really want?
And I'm not taking back Clint Capella.
Definitely.
I'm not paying him $14 million to sit on the bench.
Exactly. Because we got Joel Embiid. You're going to be a high-paid backup for Joel Embiid. Like, nah, I'm not doing it. So
isn't Capella a true 4?
No, he's really a 5.
He's a 5.
Man, a 6'9", 5.
He has a skill, but he doesn't have a skill set of even a comparable 4 in the league today. You look at a lot of 4s in the league; they could put the ball on the ground.
They can shoot from distance.
Man, I think I think he's right up there with John Collins. Same 4. And John Collins, I know John Collins has shown us to hit the corner 3.
But he can hit the mid-range shot too.
Yeah, a spot mid-range. Capella had one thing we have to do when we do that, and I agree with you a little bit hard, but we got to say D'Antoni in the positions he put Capella in. We got to bring his name up. Yeah. I mean, that offense, nobody in the league has ever ran that. That's a dinosaur as opposed to that's a dinosaur to everybody else except D'Antoni.
Yeah, I just think Jimmy Butler is interesting because he's a guy to where there are going to be a lot of suitors out there for him. If I'm the 76ers, I put the 5-year, $190 million contract right in front of him once free agency hit. The second free agency hits, I put it on the table, and I dare him to walk out.
Yep.
I dare him to walk out.
Yep. I like that because if he goes to Houston, what's his nickname that we had at the end of the playoff? Jimmy Buckets, right? And we also, put beside his name, Clutch, right?
And he can't just walk to Houston. It has to be a sign and trade because Houston does not have the cap space to absorb the contract.
And how could he be Jimmy Buckets? How could he be Jimmy Clutch? In the last 4 minutes, last 2 minutes, what have you, if the shot clock is down under 10 seconds, That's Harden's ball, isn't it? Can Harden humble himself to say
I think Harden
anything?
could. I think he could if he actually had a teammate who actually was going out there and hungry for it with him. But
Well,
I don't
Paul
see.
is not hungry, huh?
Well, I don't see him hungry for the ball. I see him hungry to be on the court and play whatever position y'all asked me to play. But I see Jimmy coming in there like, nah. Like you said, he is clutch. He is buckets in the last 4 minutes. Hey, Harden, what have we seen from you in them last 4 minutes? We've seen a lot of disappearing acts. So let's get the ball to somebody who more than likely will not disappear.
Will he take a slice of that humble pie? I'm talking about James Harden and do that.
He going to have to at some point in his career.
At some point in his career, but is he going to do that in the next couple of years?
He going to have to. If he doesn't do it in the next couple of years, when he going to do it?
He may not ever do it.
When he on the back end just trying to go sign a contract to get a ring from somebody else?
He might not ever do it. Because my thing is, it's a couple of players who should have done certain things in their career and they never did, a la Dwight Howard. And look at him. Running around a journeyman throughout the league now, wanting to take jump shots and stuff. I want to be a shooter. Sir, if you don't get yourself back down in that paint where you belong, you had a chance to do that and you didn't.
Looking at his hand when he attempted a 3-point shot or he shoot one in the All-Star game. Dwight Howard, to me, was always a clown show. Even with the Defensive Player of the Year and the force that he is, always been a clown show.
He a Hall of Famer, though.
Oh, yeah, because of Defensive Player of the Year. He led the league in rebounds a few times. Yeah. But we let people in now. So that's easy. We let people in.
That sounds like what Rudy Gobert about to be, huh? Hall of Famer off of defense.
Well, you got to understand, if he wins, because this is Rudy Gobert's
second in a row.
Let him. Ooh. But the thing about Dwight Howard is he's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. He's an 8-time All-Star. So you're pairing it with other things. And he was also the most dominant big man in the league during that time. Can I say the same thing about Rudy Gobert?
True. Touche.
You cannot. I would agree. As we get to the Hawks, they have a lot of stuff to get to. The draft went down. Some people are very happy. I think most people are happy with what the Hawks got. I just keep saying, you go back 13 months ago, and they had no coach, no face of the franchise, really no sign of what the future was going to be. And then 13 months later, you have Trae Young, who finishes second in Rookie of the Year voting, a guy who went on a tear the last 2 months of the season. You have DeAndre Hunter, and you have Cam Reddish. That's a much better place, much better core. Oh, by the way, to go along with John Collins and Kevin Huerter, who you got the year before, than where you were just 13 months ago.
And having a chance, Houston and I went up to Brooklyn for the draft. Heck of an experience, real dope experience. Having a chance to speak with DeAndre and Cam, both guys who are excited to play with Trae Young and alongside Trae Young and John Collins, and really believe in Travis Schlenk and what he is doing. The fact that Travis Schlenk was aggressive in trading up to get DeAndre, DeAndre said that really spoke volumes to him, and he knew that he was his guy. To not just sit there and hope, well, maybe he'll fall. No, I'm gonna go up and get you because this is how I see you fitting into the fold. And I think the thing that put a bigger smile on my face is when we traded 8 and 17 to move up to 4. I literally thought that took us out of the Cam Reddish run. I said, well, that got that. He may end up going somewhere else, best of luck. But when he fell to 10 and he was there and I saw that come across my phone and we took him with the 10 pick, the biggest smile came across my face because y'all know I've been a big advocate of his and what he could do on this next level because of his skill set. It's just that he didn't have the opportunity at Duke. And he talked about Duke being a great experience and learning a lot. But he says, look, I'm ready to prove, I bring consistent shooting, and I bring perimeter defense, and that's what I'm known to do, and that's what I want to bring to Atlanta.
Why did that disappear under Krzyzewski? That's always got to be a question. We can't gloss over that. Nah, I'm happy just like you with the pick, but you just can't gloss over talking about you disappearing because I come from the school of, you had the ball in your hand entire high school. Yeah, you were the go-to guy. Yeah, you had to do a lot, but now you come into a team with R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson. They're going to demand the ball, but you're going to have wide-open shots. Why can't you take advantage of more talent being on the court? That seems as though, to me, it would help you out. It would help you flourish.
It's just like same way how with a lot of these other teams, if they're not getting the ball in their hands, then those role players aren't able to flourish. You need to be able to get the touches for some reason. It actually does help out.
And I ask you this, Houston, and I love your point. Isn't he coming to Atlanta in the same situation? He's not going to have the ball in his hand. He's not going to get many touches.
Not about having the ball in his hand. It's about how he gets his touches. And with Trae Young, with the way how Trae Young moves around, just how Atlanta ball moves around, he's going to see a lot more touches than he saw in Duke.
I like that.
So as long as I know that percentage is going to go up, the amount of times he's going to actually have the ball in his hand,
the other
I'm
thing
okay
is
with
that
it.
I think people really are overlooking, and people say, well, you can't make excuses, but sometimes the facts are the facts. The man was injured. He was playing through a core injury, and then it was revealed he had a fractured rib.
Right.
So if that's the reason he's the 10th pick and not the 3rd pick or the 4th pick or the 5th pick,
shout out to the Hawks.
then the Hawks really got a deal because the man was broken.
Right.
His body was broken. He was not himself, also on a team with R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson, and the totality of all of that might be the reason why he wasn't some glorified or a better player than he showed while he was at his one season at Duke. And the other thing is, criticizing the guy for what he did 1 year in college, when you're paying him to be somebody for 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years down the road, if you think that broken rib and that core is going to be better and he's going to be better, the Hawks got to steal.
Yeah, and I also told you this before home team that, in my opinion, Coach K took a year off.
Yeah, I think he just let it roll
as
it out.
As far as development, as far as coaching,
I agree.
And his staff making sure that they run some sets that I saw with Bobby Hurley, run some sets that I saw with some other guys, Carlos Boozer, Dunleavy and them boys. Run some sets, Coach K. You got billions of sets. I thought he just rolled the ball out. Zion, your turn. RJ, your turn. Oh, by the way, can we shoot enough threes to get in the get in the Final Four? That's what I'm saying there. So maybe he didn't develop Cam the way he wanted to develop. I want to ask you this, Harp. Who do you see going to the bench in this lineup? I mean, as a roster quite now, do you see Herder or Reddish?
I think
right now
it'll probably start off being Reddish, but I think with the upside, he has way more upside than Herder.
Yeah, Herder looks like to me he's a perennial sixth man.
Right.
For a competitive, for a playoff type team looking forward. You would want to find him on the bench.
Right.
A spark on the bench somewhere.
Because you don't take somebody within the top 10, and I don't think just to, sporadically come off the bench the way some guys do with his skill set, with his defensive ability, because you pair him with DeAndre Hunter on the wings defensively. That's what you drafted him for.
Right.
You're talking about wing defending, putting the ball on the floor on the other end, getting to the basket, which both of them can do very well.
And you talk about him, yes. You talk about him humbling himself.
Right.
Never been in a situation before. Cam Reddish came off the bench when he was 7 years old. It's the last time he came off the bench and have to come in the pros and be a sixth man. That's another growing developmental area he's going to have to just wait and see. That's not going to feel comfortable initially.
No, it's not. But I think the Hawks know they draft him. Look, we want you to take over. We want you to be a starter in this lineup. We know your game. We know you still got an injury that you have to nurse and you have to fully heal from. But as you get going, as you get your touches and you're put into this mold the way we want you to, this is how we see you. This is how we see this team shaping out.
See how Summer League plays out. See how it goes in the preseason. And then from there, they'll really make evaluations on who's actually going to get that starting position. I think
he'll be behind the 8 ball because he would not be participating.
Right. So that lends to the fact of him coming off the bench at first because you're just really not going to have your legs under you to what this NBA speed really is. I think we kind of discount Herder. I like him.
Do we send Herder to Summer League?
I think we do. I think he's better.
I
Houston.
I think he's a lot better than what we give him credit for.
I agree.
I'm not taking anything away from him. I know he's good, but I'm talking about what is his upside.
He's a great six man, but I still believe that he is a good starter in this league too.
He's long,
but is he
because he missed it last year?
He's long, and I said, he wasn't always there last year. He's putting on weight now, so that's going to lend even more to him on the defensive end as well. He's still not as long as a Cam Reddish, but he's still long.
But is he a starter on this team in the future? He may be a starter in this league, but is he a starter on this team?
On this team in the future? Well,
that's the question.
Well, we'll see how far in the future are we really looking.
2 years? You took Cam at 10. I mean, 2 years.
I'll put you like this. We're talking about basically Cam, DeAndre, and Herter here. Out of them three, there's only two spots. One of them got to fall off. Oh,
you traded up to get DeAndre at 4. He ain't falling off.
Oh my God.
Well, you can do a lot of things though. Instead of looking at who's the doom and gloom of who's got to go to the bench, I look at it as you make a more versatile team when you go small.
Okay, yeah,
you can go with Trae Young and Kevin Herter and Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter and John Collins.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
You need your center in there. And that's what I want to talk to next before we get out of here. If you have to put somebody on the bench, maybe Cam Reddish can be the guy coming off. Maybe it can be Kevin Herter. Kevin Herter is certainly expected to do better. Remember, he came into the NBA. He made 50% of his three-point shots in college, and now you add DeAndre Hunter, who made 43% of his three-point shots. So you're getting guys who should be better shooters. Lloyd Pierce is going to have a lot of things to mix and match. If you want to go small, if you want to go big, he's got to figure out who his closing unit and then what Cam Reddish's role is once he gets past his rookie season.
I like that lineup. I like that Trae.
It's a death lineup with Trae, those three, and Collins at the 5.
Put them all out there.
You could really put that lineup out there. No, it's not going to be your starting lineup for the full amount of a season, but that's going to be a great lineup and to close out games. And how many centers are there out there that we really have to fear down low that we're scared of John Collins having to play defense
Embiid.
on them? Really. And let's just speak to the East. Embiid, Lopez,
Vucevic, maybe if he stays.
Vucevic. So outside of maybe 4 teams out of the East, we're doing just fine with him at the 5.
And see, I'm the guy who cares the least about the starting lineup. I'm caring most about the closing lineup.
Last 5 minutes of the game.
Last 5 minutes of the game. Who's closing it out? Who's the Lou Williams? Who's the Klay Thompson? Who's the Steph Curry? Who's the KD? Who are those guys that are close-out type of players? Who do we have in our organization who can fill those roles?
Hey, home team, do you send Kevin Herter to Las Vegas?
I wouldn't have a problem doing that. Second year player,
yeah.
And I'm looking at it because
you sent John Collins last year. He started balling out after the third game. You said, "All right,
you sat him
go
down."
sit down now.
And my
We've seen enough.
Yeah, and my thought process is this: you can get a little hidden gelling from your team. Omari Spellman will be there. You have these one rookie. You will have DeAndre Hunter. Then you'll have a second-year guy in Kevin Herter gelling there and teaching these guys the offense, the intricacies of Coach Lloyd Pierce and all that. The more these guys play together, the better. Now, the injury part about it, I understand you don't want to risk that. But just to see, there is some good competition in Summer League, just to get him more acclimated because he missed this whole summer point last year. Just a thought now, how would you feel as a player? I started how many games? Almost 30 games, and now you're telling me I'm going into D-League? I'm not the D-League, the Summer League. Are you disgruntled in my play, or you just want me to get better?
I don't think we have those type of players that are going to be disgruntled about that because, like I said, John Collins just did it.
Definitely Omari Spellman can't be disgruntled about nothing.
Injuries and stuff played a big factor into how he came along throughout the season, though, too.
Who, Omari Spellman?
Yeah, he
injuries to his belly? What injuries? He was overweight.
Hurt his wrist dipping in the Nuggets.
No, I could have sworn he was out a few games due to injury throughout the season. But
that's not why he got sat down. I mean, sat down to the D League.
True.
He ain't in shape.
G League.
He's not in shape.
He did look more like a power forward center.
He's round.
He's
round.
but Kevin Herter, he just doesn't seem like that type of guy who's gonna be like, oh man, I was just starting all these games. You want me to go play summer league ball? No. Well, John Collins just did that same thing. So go out there in 3 games, show me that you could smash all these dudes in summer ball, and you won't have to play it no more.
He did have an ankle. They gave him a couple of games with an ankle, and officially it was a hip early in the season. But he was out of shape. He was in poor condition, Omari Spellman. So I think one thing he needs to take notice is that Travis Schlink drafts well, and Travis Schlink drafts well late. So if you don't get your act together, your career, maybe in the NBA and maybe with the Hawks, could be short. So if you really appreciate all the work you put in to get here, you need to put in the same or more work to stay here. Last thing, Hawks going to need some veterans. We threw out today on the Home Team in Hamilton show here in Atlanta some centers, and you can rank them how you want to. I change my order at the end of the show. We reassess sometimes in the middle of a segment. But I started off, I really like Nikola Vucevic as a veteran, well-rounded big man. Joe brought up some things that I think were accurate as far as the best fit. And I think number one, free agent, veteran, center, can play the style, do what the Hawks need, go talk to Brook Lopez.
Okay. He can spread. He hit a record number of threes. He can go rebound. He can block a few shots. Yeah, he could. That is definitely a good place to be, especially if you want to spread the floor. You want to draw people out. You want people to see you as a threat from the three-point line. But I will say, Joe, you brought up a name who, if we were talking about Clint Capella, then I think your name was okay if that's what we're talking about, and that's Willie Cauley-Stein. Number one is because he falls into the kind of like the Deadman fold, and he can run the floor. He's 27. He'll be 27 this summer. And you're talking about a guy who is young, can run the floor, can block shots. Yes, I know he's not good from the free throw line. Yes, I know he's not good from the three-point line.
Next for me.
But if we were somehow talking about Clint Capella, who ain't the greatest from those areas either, they kind of fall into the same mold based off what the position you want them to play here.
I'll name you two champions. Yes, I know that Iguodala is not good from the three-point line. Yes, I know that Iguodala is not good from the free throw line. Yes, I know Draymond Green is not good from the three-point line, and he's a so-so from the free throw line. But you find a way to get those guys, maximizing their skill set and what they can do.
Right.
And I topped it off by this, Harp. The ability to guard 1 through 5 says something to me. Now, you're not going to always be on the point guard or always be on the 2 guard, but that quick 5 to 7 seconds that you own those guys and it's not a drop-off at all, it says a lot. There has to be some glue guys on the team. It's like guys that, get the cherry on their knee, the cherry on their elbows, a tone setter. Not necessarily an Oakley or somebody who's going to have an attitude, but you're not coming in this lane and we're going to have a rough riding attitude about us that this is our show and you're not going to score. I think he brings that.
I just like a big who can protect
Shoot
the rim,
free throws,
make those free throws, make those threes.
I'm not worried about
those
the
free throws.
If you a rim protector,
make those threes.
And if you can make your free throws,
make those free throws. Make those threes.
That's it.
Because you can see the difference when Clint Capella is missing.
Right.
You saw the difference when Draymond Green and Iguodala were missing, especially when KD was out. You saw the difference when Shaquille O'Neal was making. You need guys that can make the free throws at the moments that count. We expect the Hawks to be in the playoffs. You're going to be playing against some of the highly talented teams and coaches. Games are going to be close. Series are going to be close. If everything's being equal, I'll take the 79% free throw shooter over the 61%.
Tell me why we're not mentioning Boogie.
Because he can't run the floor.
Ooh.
Well, Boogie was a good free throw shooter before he came back, but Boogie's got some stuff to prove. He needs to drop a few LBs. He needs to show some durability for a whole season again. And I think he's got more to prove, I think, because of his injury.
He's not fast enough to run with this Hawks team. That's point blank. He's just not fast enough to run with us. As good as he might be able to stretch the floor a little bit because he can make a 3 here and there. But when it comes to what we've seen so far from this season and what we can only imagine is going to get even better for this next season, he can't run the floor with those guys.
Al Horford?
Not for what he want to get paid.
I was about to say, I don't want to pay him 25.
Take him for half.
I don't want to pay him 25.
And he's going to get his money.
Yeah.
Because if it was about the money, he'd have stayed in Boston. I mean, because he opted out of a $31 million option?
What happened to that locker room?
Kyrie. Kyrie. When he wasn't there, it seemed to be fine. When he got there, it wasn't fine.
It wasn't just Kyrie. I say it's a combination between Kyrie, your coach, and what's the other boy that came? Gordon Hayward. It's all three of them. You should not have tried to insert Gordon Hayward back in the lineup like he was just boom. Kyrie, you try to gamble on that one maybe, but Gordon should have never been in that position.
Kyrie's a champion. Kyrie's a guy who's been there before. He's been to a championship and lost one. He's been to a championship round and won one. He's the guy who's the best player on the team. We're supposed to follow his lead.
That's why you gamble with him, putting him back in there, but it still wasn't a good fit. But I think that you did way too much by trying to say Gordon Hayward is that piece too.
And he ain't. And even though he's the one that won the champion and he's the one with the experience, he's not a leader.
No.
LeBron led that team. LeBron was the leader. Kyrie was the Robin to his Batman.
But that's why he played so well. He knew that.
No, but that was the whole problem though too, because his ego was like, no, but I want to be that leader. Well, this was your shot, and you didn't do so well with it.
And you know what else? You know what else hit him? His little bruised ego? The year before when they came within one game again to the NBA Finals. You don't think they're coming into the next year with the attitude, we're looking to up our game now. We're looking to now get over that hump based off how close we came playing with house money. No one expected us to do that. No one expected us to compete with LeBron like that, but we did.
Well, they won better, and they had a better chemistry without him. Hopefully, sometimes change of scenery will change a lot of things. That'll do it for this episode of the Drop Step Podcast. I want to say shout out, thank you to Joe Ham. Joe Ham 14. Where can the folks find you, Joe?
Well, at Joe Ham 14, and they can find me back here on the podcast because I've got invited way more times than I came in. I think it's always an open invitation, but I forgot how much fun this is.
Come on back.
Goodness.
Man, we're not bothering anybody. Just talking some hoops.
That's it. Come on back.
But not enough time.
Always run out of time. Next time, we'll have some superstar players on next teams. For B-Dog in Houston, I'm home team. We'll see you next time on the Drop Step Podcast.
We out.
Already.
Peace.
Make sure you comment, rate, and subscribe to the Drop Step Podcast on Apple Podcasts for iPhone users and Podbean for Android devices. You can also hear the podcast on Wednesdays and Saturday nights on the Shaq Fu Radio app.